There I was, Easter Sunday, a grown man, a doctor, a carnivore, sitting on the toilet, stomach cramping like my intestine had called an emergency board meeting, and nobody was prepared to be polite. And the crazy part, this did not happen after some wild buffet, 5 slices of cake, and a 2-liter bottle of orange soda. No, this happened after a very small serving of sweet potatoes, my mom's dressing, also known as stuffing, and some string beans. That was it. That was the big rebellion. That was the food decision that made my body say, oh, so this is what we're doing today. Within about an hour, my stomach started twisting. Not a simple whisper, not a gentle nudge. I'm talking about that deep, rolling, bubble and clench kind of cramping that makes you stop mid-sentence and stare into the distance like you're suddenly trying to hear from your Lord and Savior. Then came the diarrhea. Then came the realization that Easter dinner had turned into Easter evacuation. And to make this even more ridiculous, I sat there so long that when I finally stood up, one of my legs had gone numb. That's right, not only was my gut offended, but my circulation had apparently filed a complaint too. Now, thankfully, after that episode, I was able to recover enough to get back and finish spending time with my family. So let me say this clearly. This is not a tragedy. This is not me spiraling. This is actually a gift, because sometimes life gives you a reminder. Sometimes your body gives you a memo. Sometimes your colon becomes a life coach. And the lesson is simple. Do not forget what used to hurt you just because you've been feeling better for a while. That's the heart of this video. I thought my gut was healed. And to be fair, I do think it has healed tremendously. But on Easter, I was reminded that healed does not always mean invincible. And that matters, because a lot of people start low-carb keto and carnivore, or some version of elimination eating because they are in pain. Some are dealing with bloating, some with reflux, some with autoimmune issues, some with brain fog. And for me, one of the biggest reasons was irritable bowel symptoms. I know what it feels like to be afraid of food. I know what it feels like to wonder whether eating is going to cost you the next 2 hours of your life. I know what it feels like to scan a room, not for the best conversation, but for the nearest bathroom. That's not living free. So when your body starts doing better, and you've had enough good days, and your family is smiling, and it's a holiday, and everyone is saying, come on, live a little, it becomes very easy to think, maybe I'm beyond that now. Maybe I can just dabble. Maybe this time will be different. And sometimes it is different. Some people absolutely can indulge once in a while and do just fine. That's important. This video is not about fear. It's not about shaming indulgence. It's not about saying if you eat one sweet potato, your ancestors will weep and your pancreas will send you hate mail. No, this is about understanding your body. Because if you are fragile in a certain area, whether it's your gut, your blood sugar, your cravings, your inflammation, or your mood, your body may respond to indulgence very differently than somebody else's. Now let's talk about what may have happened mechanistically. Because this wasn't just random punishment from the dietary heavens. This was physiology. One of the first things that can happen is something called the gastrocolic reflex. That's basically a digestive system responding to food entering the stomach by telling the colon, all right, everybody, let's move. And in people with a history of IBS or sensitive gut, that reflex can be exaggerated. So the cramping and urgency can come fast, very fast. Sometimes so fast, you're still talking about how good the food tasted while your intestines are already preparing a formal protest. The second issue is that when you suddenly introduce carbohydrates and plant material your body has not been dealing with regularly, you may get changes in how fluid moves through the gut. Some carbohydrates draw water into the intestines. That can loosen stools, increase urgency, and make everything move in a way that feels less like digestion and more like a fire drill. Gut symptoms after certain foods are often driven by a combination of water shifts, faster movement, and sensitivity in the digestive tract. Then there's the microbiome piece. And yes, I do think that matters. If you've been eating mostly animal foods, your gut microbes have adapted to that pattern. They are used to seeing protein and fat. Then all of a sudden, in come sweet potatoes, dressing, and string beans like distant cousins who were not on the guest list. That shift may change fermentation patterns in the gut. More fermentation can mean more gas, more stretching, and more discomfort. And if your gut is sensitive, that stretching can feel way bigger than it should. That leads to another key issue, visceral hypersensitivity. That's the fancy way of saying some people's guts are more dramatic than Broadway. The nerves in the digestive tract can become so sensitive that normal levels of stretching, fluid, or gas feel excessive. So even if the portion was small, the sensation can be big, very big. Your body is not lying. It's just reacting loudly. And then there's another piece people do not talk about enough: adaptation. Your body adapts to what you repeatedly do. That is true for muscles. That is true for metabolism. And yes, that is true for digestion. If you consistently eat in a way that your body tolerates well, your system becomes efficient with that pattern. If you suddenly change the script, especially after being very disciplined, sometimes the body says, "Excuse me, this is not the program we've been running." That does not mean you are broken. It means your body has become practiced in one rhythm and less practiced in another. And I think that is the deeper life lesson here. Your daily disciplines matter, not because you are trying to be perfect, not because you are trying to impress people, not because you get extra points in heaven for skipping a dressing, but because repeated disciplines build a life that serves your goals. A few good choices repeated long enough can dramatically improve how you feel. And a few choices outside the pattern can sometimes remind you why these disciplines matter in the first place. That idea aligns with the motivational themes of personal responsibility, discipline, and stewardship of the body. So here's my encouragement. First, do not interpret an experience like this as failure. I didn't fail on Easter. I learned on Easter. Sometimes the body teaches in whispers. Sometimes it teaches with bloating. And sometimes it teaches while your foot falls asleep on the toilet. Lesson received. Second, know your own price tag. Everybody pays something in life. Some people can eat off plan and pay almost nothing. Some people pay with cravings. Some with fatigue. Some with swollen joints. Some with brain fog. And some of us pay with immediate intestinal drama. So before you indulge, ask yourself, is this worth what it may cost me? And be honest, not emotional, not pressured, not trying to please the crowd, just honest. Third, don't let family love override body wisdom. I know family means well. They want you to enjoy the holiday. They want you to loosen up. They want to see you participate. That comes from love. But your purpose still matters. Your goals still matter. Your health still matters. And if your body has already told you what it does and does not tolerate, listen to that voice. Because consequences do not care how festive the table looked. And finally, I want to say this to those who are watching and thinking, well, I can indulge and I do fine. Good. Enjoy that freedom. No judgment. But for those of us with more fragile systems, this is your reminder to be careful out there. Have your moments if you choose to. Celebrate with your family. Laugh. Love. Be present. But do not hand over your health goals just because the holiday playlist is good and somebody put extra butter in the sweet potatoes. You have to live in your body after the guests go home. At the end of the day, I'm grateful. Grateful that I recovered. Grateful that I could get back to my family. Grateful for the reminder. And grateful that even an uncomfortable Easter bathroom moment can become a lesson that helps somebody else avoid unnecessary suffering. Sometimes progress is not proven by never stumbling. Sometimes progress is proven by how quickly you remember who you are, what your body needs, and why you made the changes in the first place. So yes, I thought my gut was healed until Easter dinner. But maybe the better truth is this: my gut is much better. My life is much better. And Easter simply reminded me that the disciplines that gave me freedom are still worth respecting. That's not punishment. That's wisdom. And sometimes wisdom arrives with a cramp, a sprint to the bathroom, and one numb leg.